Commissioners, July 20, 2015 meeting. And I would ask that Jerry Simpson, if you will provide our invocation, please, sir.
Bow, if you will. Gracious God, as we join together to make decisions regarding our county's future, we ask your blessings upon us. At the end of another Independence Day season, we're grateful for the blessings of liberty and those who sacrificed in order that we may continue to live in a free society. Help us to remember that our freedoms come from you, O God. Help us to humble ourselves as leaders as we act on behalf of our people. We would pray for guidance. Help us as board members to be studied in our decisions, courteous in our discussions, and understanding of the impacts we have on those we serve. I would pray for those who struggle, whether it be physically, financially, or emotionally. Cover them with your presence and grace that they may be renewed. Lead, guide, and direct all those who serve for our protection, our law enforcement, emergency personnel, fire, as well as our military throughout the world. I ask it in Christ's name, amen. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next, we have the privilege of our employee recognition, service awards for time and service, and some retiree recognition. And first, we'll start with 5 years of service. Jeremy Rushing with the Sheriff's Department. Sarah Kazai with the Sheriff's Department. Emily Tetro with the Sheriff's Department. Adeline Brown with Human Services. Valerie Hernandez with Human Services. And with 10 years of service, Patricia Poland with Community Services. Benjamin Hargett with Sheriff's Office. Robert Rucker with the Sheriff's Office. Faye Treadway with the Sheriff's Office. And with 15 years of service, Jeffrey Moser with Public Works. And 20 years of service, Brian Helms with the Sheriff's Department. Michelle Starnes with the Sheriff's Department. Brenda Harris with Human Services. Then we've got Kathleen Heron with the Board of Education with 15 years. These are our retirees. Martha Smith, Community Service with 10 years. Angela Mallard with Social Services with 20 years. And Chris Whitaker with Environmental Services with 27 years. It's our pleasure to recognize these faithful employees, and we appreciate all that you have done for us. Next, we have Union Emergency Medical Services 30th Anniversary Proclamation. And I'd like to read the proclamation, please. Whereas Union County Emergency Medical Service was organized June 24th, 1985 to provide emergency care to the citizens of Union County, and whereas Union Emergency Medical Services initially trained 24 emergency medical technicians to the level of emergency medical technician paramedic to enhance the emergency care provided, and whereas Union County Emergency Medical Services became Union Emergency Medical Services in 1997 after acquisition, by Carolina's Healthcare and System. Whereas Union County Emergency Medical Services continues to provide specialized pre-hospital emergency care to the sick and injured of Union County. And whereas in its 30 years of existence, Union Emergency Medical Services has treated and transported as many as 296,000 patients. Whereas Union Emergency Medical Services will celebrate its 30th year of service to the citizens of Union County during the week of June 29th through July 3rd, 2015. Now therefore, the Union County Board of Commissioners does hereby proclaim June 29th to July 3rd, 2015 as Union Emergency Medical Services Week in the County of Union, and call upon all citizens and organizations to join together in honoring the men and women of Union Emergency Medical Services who unselfishly provide the best pre-hospital emergency medical care to our population. We are very pleased to have a large contingent of our Union Emergency Medical Services. Would y'all stand, please? I can tell you that these individuals provide us outstanding service, and I've had, I guess it's the pleasure of receiving the support that y'all have provided, and it's exceptional. And thank you very much. And I'd like to ask Curtis Teague, our Executive Emergency Director, and Brian Edwards, which is our new Director of EMS, to come forward to accept this for you. Gentlemen, thank you. Welcome aboard. Thank you very much. You're come to work with an outstanding group of individuals. I know that your history is that you actually were one of EMS's employees at one time. So welcome back, and thank you for all that you do. You too, Kurt. Okay. Can I have a motion to adopt the proclamation to recognize the 30th anniversary of Union Medical Services and Union County Medical Services Week?
So moved.
So moved. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Thank you very much for all that y'all do. And like I said, you do excellent work, and we're in good hands. Appreciate it. Next, we have a public hearing, Section 5310, Elderly Individuals and Individuals with Disability Program Grant. And Dana Stajinski, we appreciate you coming to share this with us, and it's good seeing you again.
Well, thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for having me tonight. My name is Dana Stujanki. It's 3 Stooges and a Yankee. Stujanki. And I'm here tonight. I was helping Annette Sullivan write a grant for Union County Transit. It's called the 5310 grant. I'm with the Rocky River Rural Planning Organization, and we provide transportation planning for the rural section of Union County, as well as Anson and Stanley. And so what basically happened was, so this 5310 grant has been out there for a very long time. You all, Union County has not utilized this grant before. And basically, because you all are shifting to a more urban population, you are sort of losing some monies, and this grant will provide monies to replace it. So the 53 grant specifically helps populations that are 65 and older and that are disabled. And so it's federal dollars. And so we are trying to help a segment of the population that Union County Transit services. And there's now, because of that funding designation shift, there's quite a bit of a wait list at your program. And so about 112 residents right now on the wait list, and about 94 of them can be serviced with this grant. So we really could make a huge impact if you all allow for us to apply for these dollars. Basically, Union County can leverage its home community care block grant. So that's something you all already get. You get about $120,000 a year. And you can leverage that for 5310. It's a 50-50 match. And so you can use that current grant that you get, and you can match it with the $5310. I've already applied for this pot of money for Stanley County, and it was a different round because they're rural. We had to go through NCDOT. You all are, like I said, more urban now, and so we have to go through CATS. So there's a slightly different timing. We were successful for the Stanley County dollars, and we did the same thing. We applied for the same dollars using the same home community care block grant to match. And they're starting as of July 1, they're utilizing those dollars. So if you look at the slides, I hope you have the slides in front of you, I assume you do. There's a 2-year program. So the first year is actually the second year. First year you get 12 months for $51,776. That second year, it's flipped, is $43,644. It's only right now for 8 months. I was on the phone today with CATS, and they said that's probably going to be bumped up to a full 12 months, and we'll come back if we can leverage more money for y'all. But as it stands, those dollars in blue is the new dollars. So those dollars in blue are the new ones. That second set of dollars you already have. So that sort of shows how we're applying for the money, where the money's coming from, and why we're doing it in a nutshell. So really, that's the short of it. Is there any specific questions? I'd be happy to answer. Okay, thanks so much.
Well, thank you very much. Yes. Is there a question? Okay. Dana, thank you very much for bringing that. We actually have this item on our consent agenda, and we appreciate it. And at this time, I'm going to close the public hearing. We had no one to sign up to speak, so we'll close the public hearing and move on. Thank you again. It's good seeing you again. Informal comments will be our next item. We have several people to sign up, and each speaker must address the board from the lectern and begin their remarks by giving their name, stating whether they're residents of Union County, indicating the municipality within which they reside, if any, and stating the topic about which they intend to speak. Each speaker will have 3 minutes to make remarks. A speaker may not yield any of his or her time to another speaker. Speakers may not discuss matters which are subject to public hearings, and they must be courteous in their language and presentation. Restatements of repetitive comments by the same speaker, whether at the same or separate meetings, may be ruled out of order by the chair. Personal attacks will not be tolerated. Speakers may leave written comments and/or supporting documentation, if any, with the assistant county manager seated to your right. And our first person, Jerry Surratt.
Thank you. I appreciate this opportunity to speak to you. I am Jerry Surratt. I'm the resident of the City of Monroe and am currently the chair of the Union County Historic Properties Commission. And there is a resolution coming before the board tonight, and I'm speaking in support of that resolution on behalf of the Historic Properties Commission. First of all, let me say that the members of our commission are very grateful for the actions and support of this board over the years. Obviously, we have a structure that is irreplaceable and is the center of Union County and Monroe, and we are very appreciative of the work that's been done in support of that. We are currently underutilized in terms of the interior, and we would like to see that move on. We know that there has been discussions in the past of a possible museum, and we recognize that there are financial considerations that would have to be addressed before that becomes a reality. But we would like to support this resolution as a step in the process of moving toward the utilization of the interior of the courthouse and its grounds in a satisfactory and an appropriate manner given its historic character. And we hope that you will be able to give this resolution your support and participate in this step toward the proper utilization of the facility. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Next, Eugene Griggs. Thank you, sir.
Gentlemen. My name is Eugene Griggs. I reside in Indian Trail, North Carolina, Union County, of course. Ladies and gentlemen, in 2010, I came to the county commissioners meeting asking for assistance with the water runoff issue in my backyard. I realized that some of you may be fairly new to the board. In March of 2012, the spokesman for the county stated the county is aware of the problem but had not found a solution. I gave photos of my backyard before and after rain, yet here we are 3 years later and still no solution. The problem has only gotten worse. Even when there's no rain for weeks, there's a flow of water through my backyard. The town of Indian Trail says it's a county issue. The State Department of Transportation has been there to check, not a state issue. Over the years, the fences have been destroyed by the amount of water that runs through the yards of mine and my neighbors. The water seems to be running down here from the Sun Valley Industrial Park. It will only take 5 minutes for maybe one of you to come out in your busy schedule to check to see if possible. You can also see my neighbor's yard. I'm a 65-year-old veteran of the United States Marine Corps, honorably discharged. I await your assistance, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Griggs. Thank you for your service. Mr. Griggs, if you'll call me, I'll make arrangements to come out and view your property.
I sure will, sir.
Okay?
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. And that's all our public comments for this evening. Next, we'll move on to addition, deletions, and/or adoption of the agenda. Are there any items that Commissioner Jerry Simpson?
Chairman, I'd like to add a item to consider a resolution relative to Jackson Volunteer Fire Department purchasing a new fire apparatus, please.
Okay, we'll make that 10A under new business. That's satisfactory. Is there any additional?
Motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Okay. I will note that in item N, the fire marshal's resolution was emailed out today, so y'all should have that. Any further discussion on the amendment to the agenda? All those in favor of the agenda as amended?
Aye.
Okay. Okay. We voted to amend the agenda. Let's vote with it to accept the agenda, the consent agenda.
Consent?
Yes.
Motion to approve consent.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
See, Frank, I remember not bypass it
Did
this
good.
time.
You're around.
Next, we'll begin our old business with the annual report for the Monroe Union County Economic Development. I think, Mr. Platay, you're coming to share that with us?
If I might, Mr. Chairman, just as part of our interlocal agreement with the City of Monroe, Mr. Platay does come to us once per year to provide us with an annual update, and I think you'll be very pleased with the results that the organization, in partnership with the county, has realized this past year.
Y'all seen that too? The thing flicking on and off. Again. Commissioner Helms, Commissioners, Manager Cota, it's my pleasure to present tonight the annual report for the fiscal year 2014-15 for the Monroe Union County Economic Development. This report is a little different in the fact that we'll also include some information as the end of, this also marks the end of the term for the first interlocal agreement. So we'll have some numbers related to that. The economic developers, in many cases, are privileged to be the point person and to get credit for a lot of the work that's done to have a successful economic development organization. But true economic development is a team sport, and it really requires virtually every county department to cooperate with us and us with them to really make this happen, as well as trust and support from the manager's office and from you, the commissioners. So thank you so much for that. And I believe that Union County is well positioned for the long-term economic success in the way that we have structured this, and appreciate the continued support of moving forward with the interlocal agreement tonight. And it's our honor to represent this great county. Just want to go over some milestones for the last fiscal year. We've concluded the first Union County Economic Development work plan. So it's the first countywide economic development work plan in a very, very long time, probably more than 20 years. And as a result of that, looking from January 1st of 2013 to today, we've generated $355 million in new capital investment over 42 projects that is going to result in 1,152 new job opportunities for our citizens. And that is also over that same time period, the unemployment rate has reduced nearly 40%. We have sold, and we'll go into a little bit more detail on this a little bit later. We sold the Monroe Spec building to Glenmark Pharmaceuticals. Shannon Farm in Mineral Springs was evaluated by the Duke Energy Site Readiness Program, and we're moving forward with that project. As well as we've diversified our industrial base by adding digital printing and data center, as well as a pharmaceutical company that we've not had before. All this while still increasing the long-term aerospace outlook. For the this has also been the healthiest 12-month run for capital investment in Union County history. We've maintained, again, the lowest unemployment for the Charlotte region, making it the 16th straight year. We've been able to secure $77,000 in new grants from lighting rebates, recycling grants, and Duke Energy's matching grants, as well as $2.65 million in 1NC grants from the state of North Carolina to help us secure some of these projects. Finally, some recognitions this year. We were named the top 5 supplier location for Boeing, the top 10 place to reshore manufacturing near a major airport, meaning Charlotte Douglas, and the top 10 no-brainer manufacturing location in the South. So very proud of those. And again, proud of all the achievements that we've had this year. Looking at our existing industry, retention and expansion program, I have an incredible staff, and Ron and Gretchen, both there are just world-class in the way that they handle and work with our existing industries to help solve problems, just to keep up with them. They just do a phenomenal job. Within that program, we do an Industry Appreciation Day. It's our 16th annual that we've held. It's the largest event to date, with over 170 attendees. And we also honored our late chairman, Mr. Clark Goodwin, at this event too. So very glad that we had an opportunity to honor him for all of his service. Existing industry seminars is one of those things that you really try to find out what is going on with the existing industries, what they need to know more about. And so we identify those and try to put seminars together to help them. So 2 topics that we had this year were identifying energy efficiency measures for their business, as well as working with millennials. So I think that that was a very, very timely topic for them. As well as every day, Ron and Gretchen are out there working with the industries. They roughly communicate with 20 companies a month. You know, so 230 plus individual contacts, face-to-face interactions, not counting our industry appreciation and seminars and other things. So they are busy all the time with that. As a result, there was 40 specific issues that came up this year. And so they were able to help those companies resolving those, including financial assistance, efficiency projects, business-to-business interactions, utility issues, workforce, as well as permitting. One of the things that we did this year that we had done in Monroe several years ago, but as far as I'm aware, has never been done in Union County, at least in my 16 years here. And so in April, we conducted a countywide wage survey and labor shed study. As a result, we got 30% of our industries to participate. This gave us a very large pool and a reliable data source to move forward and make some pretty amazing assumptions, things that we're just very, very encouraged about. If you look at the map, you'll see in orange is the salary data or the labor pool and where we draw from. And the blue is our hourly workforce, where they draw from. But one of the amazing things is 61% of the manufacturing employees that work in Union County industries actually reside within Union County. That's a much higher percentage than most of the counties that are around us. When I worked in York County, gosh, 20 years ago, it was around 52 to 55%. So it really says something about Union County that the people that are working at our industries actually live here as well. The other thing is, of those 61%, 67 of that live just within the 3 zip codes of Monroe. So it's amazing how much Monroe is still the manufacturing hub of the county, both from an industrial base and the labor force that's there. But we couldn't do it without the West. Weddington, Waxhaw, and Marvin actually house about 25% of that 61% of your salary and your executive leadership of those industries. So it takes all parts of Union County to really help us lure those companies in, and the residential stock that we have here is a big part of that. So, you know, Marvin is just as important to our efforts as is Monroe, based on the fact that how they help us lure companies and lure the spouses and everyone else to live here. Around 15% of the manufacturing overall of those folks live in South Carolina, mainly among Lancaster and Chesterfield counties, some in York County. The remainder of those live in Mecklenburg, Cabarrus, Stanley, and Anson. The average hourly wage is $18.48 per hour. When I started here in '99, that was $9 an hour. So because of what we've done, particularly with the aerospace initiative, and drawing in a higher precision, you know, manufacturing base, that has driven that number up. And so today, the hourly workforce has a much better quality of life. And as a result of that, you've seen the changes in retail along 74 and the retail and the residential values and those kind of things come from that. The average salary among our salary folks are $52,650. So again, a very good number for the supervisory folks. We also worked heavily with our marketing and awareness and recruitment activities. One of those, you know, we obviously in the social media is a big hammer for us to really try to get information out. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube channel. We've done several videos with our existing industries. Continue to do more of those. Have a series of several of those industries, you know, highlighting what they do. And then LinkedIn as well. The one campaign that we did was the Unitas campaign. If you're familiar with Flat Stanley, you know, those that have children or grandchildren know Flat Stanley. This is our version. So Unitas. Got a lot of laughs at the board meetings when we brought up Unitas. But he's really been developed to put our message out to a market that's not necessarily the business community. It's the general public of the county that need to know what's going on with our economic development activities. So Unitas goes from town to town, visiting the industries that we have there. We block out the name, and we try to get people to, we describe what he does, what the industries do that he's visiting, and we have a little contest on Facebook. Now, again, this is sort of a gamble on a professional level, trying to put out a little cartoon, but he has been phenomenal. It's a 120% increase in our Facebook likes, the activity, people that aren't associated with our industry, stay-at-home moms to everything, they're finding and getting information now constantly through Facebook on what we've done. So that's great to continue to market internally on the successes of our industries and the successes of what the county's up to. And this has only been in 8 months. So, and one of the things that we do for a contest is we do give a gift certificate to a local restaurant from the municipality in which he is in. So It's going to drive business again internally to the county. So we've had numerous positive articles throughout the year for the county and the municipalities, locally, nationally, and internationally. Very happy with Southern Business and Development, the Paris Air Show News. We were able to announce a project at the air show this year, which is fantastic. The Aviation Week, Area Development, Charlotte Business Journal, and obviously the Charlotte Observer. And if you looked at Sunday's paper, it had a phenomenal spread, a 3-page spread on Ludwig drums. I appreciate Adam Bell's interest in doing that. And it was, to get that much real estate about a company in Union County is phenomenal. And so we do appreciate that. So that's the kind of things that we try to encourage. And Adam got the idea about it from a tweet that we put out about Ludwig drums. So it's showing that our effort is helping. We've also been on the road, exhibited at the Paris Air Show, Speed News Aerospace Conference in California. We've been in Florida with the Southern Economic Developers Roundtable, at Southern Economic Developers Conference Consultant Event in Chicago, as well as the National Farm Show in Louisville, Kentucky. At home, we've had the 4th Annual Groundhog Day event, 16th Annual Industry Appreciation Day event, as well as held our first Broker Appreciation Day, trying to pull those guys out of Charlotte to come look at the wonderful things that we have here that the brokers can sell to projects that they run across here in Union County. Also working in available land. Again, most of the product still lies within Monroe. We're making steps toward fixing that and spreading that product throughout the county. Shannon Farms still is the one that is sort of the first low-hanging fruit that we're aiming for. 150 acres, prime rail site. That was what was evaluated this year with a site readiness program through Duke Energy. Our focus now is addressing the items that were brought out in that study, as well as trying to extend some further utilities to the site. The county has already done some other extensions in Mineral Springs that helps that site as well. We're working with the private sector, specifically on 3 sites, one in Indian Trail, one in Waxhaw, and one in unincorporated Union County, on them developing those into smaller parks. Still working with other towns on the basics, the zoning and planning issues, utilities, and understanding just the needs of business. We're also still working on the long-term project, which is the Sutton Park redevelopment. It's on roughly 3,100 acres. It's massive. But with that, we're still in a waiting and holding pattern because of Diener. It's going through a brownfield assessment. So once that is completed, then Apex Tool, which is the current owner, will raise the building, demo that structure, and then that'll be then handed over to the city of Monroe for redevelopment. Finally, we worked hard to try to get the private sector to come in and do spec buildings for, gosh, several months, almost 6 months, of really just banging on their doors, really trying to get them to come in. We were missing projects because of that, because of the no product. So Monroe went ahead and pulled the trigger. So they'll be moving forward with number 4 of their spec buildings. There's roughly 100,000 square feet. We're developing this final specifications now. We'll hopefully bid and award that project sometime by the end of October. Hopefully start grading as soon as possible after that, with the structure hopefully complete much before July of next year. Kind of looking at the job creation year-over-year comparisons, it's a little light, but you can see the 2013-14 fiscal year there at just over 400. Our goal, again, is 300 jobs every year. This year, 717. The nice thing about that is 400 of those 717 will be paid an average of $60,000 or more. So dramatically different than what we were recruiting 10, 15 years ago. As a result, just kind of giving you a little window shot here of the last 18 months. Again, number 1 is the lowest unemployment in the region. There are 2 months that stand out every year, April and September, that really aren't affected by other things. So those are your bellwether months, the true measures for your unemployment rate. If you look at, show it here. If you look here in May, where it jumps up, May through August, you have the teachers, students, and college folks coming back into the market, into the labor force, looking for summer work. And then they go away. And so you see that immediate drop. And the drop comes right there in September and starts heading back down. So September and April are the true measures. Right now, we're at 4.9, but that's because we just hit the summer months. 4.4 was April. That's about what we believe that our unemployment is, around 4.4, 4.5%. It's not for everybody, but it's virtual full employment at this point. So it's very hard to find a lot of skilled workers in that space. So it's something that we strive to get to, but it also kind of slows down some of the growth because you're really depending on people moving in or driving in from other counties at that point. So if you look at it, the results of some of the growth, just in the last 18 months, we've seen an 11% drop in the unemployment. Looking at the investments, again, the goal is $60 million a year. Last fiscal year, we did not make that mark. We were trying to start the office, develop our work plan, implement that work plan, build the pipeline. We were able to do that, but we just didn't get quite the investment level that we hoped for. We did, again, overachieve on the jobs. But this year, 1/3 of $1 billion of investment, $306,530,000. So with that, the work plan has been implemented, it's working, and so just within this 1 year, we've had basically 5 years worth of economic development goal achieved. So very, very happy with that, and exhausted. It's been a hard run because all the work actually starts after the announcement. So we're doing all the things that we promised we would do. We have to make sure actually come true. So looking into the fiscal year, the coming fiscal year and beyond, we're looking to continue our existing industry seminars, begin something that we had only done in Monroe, which is an existing industry handbook. We're going to make that a county-wide handbook. It's a great asset. We'll do that every year, and the companies have that little Bible they can go to for all kinds of questions, whether it's planning and zoning, whether it's taxes, whether it's how to get a visa for an employee, all that's in there. So it's a really, really stout resource. We'll continue to improve our grant research capabilities. We're also looking strategic partnerships for foreign investment. So finding ways to tap into Europe probably more than anywhere else, just because it's an easier draw with Charlotte Douglas as your connection point, to really kind of draw some of that foreign investment from Europe, particularly as their economy is not doing so well with Greece and other impacts. Continue to promote the manufacturing careers and the business-to-business interactions within the county, and we'll get a lot of help from our partner in the Chamber of Commerce to do that. We'll also continue to work very closely with our local municipalities. And the big plan coming to you in hopefully September will be the work plan for the next 3 fiscal years. Some concerns. The North Carolina incentive debate is a real and present danger right now to our project generation. So something that we're tracking. That probably won't be resolved until November-ish timeframe. So it's something that we're really concerned about and watching as a whole. In fact, one private developer said he will not build a spec building in North Carolina until they get their situation straight on incentives. So, and that was mentioned 2 Fridays ago. So that's real live data coming from the private sector, just saying that, North Carolina doesn't have a lot of tools right now to help. So we're winning projects, but we're winning them locally with the tools that you've given us and the ability, just great resources that Union County has. More product throughout the county is definitely something that we've been preaching this for a while in buildings, but now it's becoming apparent in land as well. So with the ATI project, that took 57 acres out of the mix. So the new spec building removes another 15 acres out of the mix. So with that, we've got to have land, and land is not just a green field. It is served with water and sewer, served with utilities, those kind of things. So that's one of the things we really got to start working on besides just a building generation, is the land preparation as well. 2016 is a presidential election year. Companies abhor uncertainty. Presidential election years always provide, no matter if it was Reagan-Mondale, they still hesitate. So those years will see project levels typically drop. So just something to think about. until that election year's over with, and our phone starts going crazy. Once they don't really care which direction, they just want to know where it's going to go. And so they can start making their plans. If you look at the pipeline, 2014 and 15, we really tried, but we only hit about 60 projects, so it's 53% of our goal. Now, we had a very, very high win rate, so we survived that. But because of that, our pipeline is extremely small now. So we're looking at roughly 43 projects in the pipeline. If you look to your far right, you'll see the small funnel shows the levels. So a suspect is when we're first talking to a project, then it becomes a prospect. As it becomes more real, it becomes a real project for where they're looking to like the last 2 or 3 sites. And then they become an announced project. So if you look at that, our project load is healthy. It's what's coming into the funnel. So instead of it being a funnel, right now we have a straight pipe. We need to open that back up. A couple years ago, we talked to you guys and we had an inverted funnel, which was worse. So we just got to stop it from collapsing at the top. We need to open it back up. So the trips like the Paris Air Show brought in additional prospects. There's things like that we need to go and continue to prospect to get projects in the top of the funnel. But again, let's focus on the positives, what this year was, which was phenomenal. The value of the projects also in our funnel, 43 projects, is only about 263 million. Typically that's around 800 to 600 million. So the projects are smaller too. So that's another thing. But the one note that I will say that we're extremely proud of in the pipeline is the second largest sector. First is precision manufacturing. That will most likely always be number 1. Number 2 is agribusiness. So we're very, very happy to see agribusiness is actually raised from not even showing up to being number 2 in our prospect pipeline. So that's something we're very proud of, and efforts coming from the National Farm Show and other things that we've done. Looking at the summary, 60 million again is our goal, 306 million or 1/3 of a billion. Significant locations, again, ATI. We were able to announce that at the Paris Air Show with the Secretary of Commerce from North Carolina. It was a wonderful, wonderful win, $70 million for us, 70 jobs. It's just a start of a new wave of investments we hope for ATI here in the county. O'Neill Digital Solutions, $140 million project, 250 jobs paying over $60,000. Redevelopment of a turbo mecha, which we lost this year. We were able to sell that building before the company closed. So very, very happy with that. Glenmark Pharmaceuticals took the spec building again and expanded, announced an expansion before their first project was even completed. Scott Safety, a long time, wonderful company for Union County, growing again. Harris Teeter growing again. Charlotte Pipe continuing to make investments here. Keywell, a company that moved from Monroe to Stallings, making significant investments there. Croup Brands, one of our agribusiness companies, came in. They make the goggles for jockeys as well as for skydivers. So then they went to Indian Trail. So the nice thing about it is the investments are diverse, not only in the industry sectors that we're bringing in, but they're diverse because they're throughout the county. Monroe still houses most of those projects just because it has the land and the zoning's in place, but we're seeing it now spread throughout. So from Waxhaw to, we've even shown a project in Fairview. So very excited about that as well. So if you look at the year, just a quick bullet, created a pipeline that totaled 60 new projects this year, announced 22 with a capital investment of 306 million, job creation at 717. The average wage of those jobs totals 54,000. If you look at the period of the work plan, it was 112 projects were generated. Of 42 were announced. That's a win rate of 38%. Should be more 4 to 10%. So again, our win rate has helped us keep up these investment levels. The net average annual announcement is $142 million now, as well as the capital investment totals $355, as we've mentioned before, a couple of these you've heard before. So 1,152 jobs. This is the big thing. The county, through the interlocal agreements, roughly $400,000. The tax generation off the projects that we've announced just in the first 30 months generates a return to you of 276%. If you look going forward at just hitting our number of 60 million going forward, and adding those up year after year for the next 5 years through 2020, will generate almost $2 billion of new tax base, new base that'll be taxed, with an ROI getting paid the same amount roughly with the increases that are in the interlocal agreement of 473%. And that's counting depreciation. So we feel that we really appreciate all the support that you've given us, but we feel like this is a pretty amazing return. Again, I cannot tell you how much me and my staff have felt the support from you guys, from the manager's office, from all of the staff that has really allowed us to come in here and do well. And representing all of Union County with one voice, I think, has really led to this success this year.
Chris, can I give you some feedback I received? I know it was tough duty going to the Paris Air Show, but got a call from my son, and he's a marketing director for a large commercial construction company. And their representative at the show came back bragging about your staff, how well you represented Union County. And that was unsolicited. He just had to call me and tell me how this guy was ranting and raving about how professional y'all were and how well you represented Union County. And for that, please extend our appreciation to yourself and your entire staff.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you very much.
Next, we'll go on to new business. And item number 7, Union County Public Schools Board of Education request for $1,980,555. A little background on this. On July the 8th, 2015, the county manager received a request from the Board of Education concerning the funding of emerging needs and the driver's education program. The request for emerging needs was $1,227,695, with items ranging from HVAC system repairs, replacement of vehicles. The Board of Education is requesting the county provide additional funding. In addition, the Board of Education is requesting that the county fund $752,860 for the driver's education program. The additional request is based on the expectation that the state will not fund this program as in the past. They did state that if the state did fund this, they would return those funds. I had this document, and I had a meeting with Chairman Collins, an excellent meeting with him, and we discussed options that had been presented by the county manager to the superintendent and her staff. Like I said, it was an excellent meeting, and we discussed the options, and also discussed conversations that had been had with our local representatives. And given the options presented to the Board of Education chair and their board, and the resources that the Board of Education has at its discretion, our recommendation is that we present tonight is no additional funding. I know that after my conversation with the chair, he came back discussing very positively the alternatives. I look forward to having further conversations. So therefore, our action is to request direct county manager to provide various funding options as outlined in this document to the superintendent in lieu of the funding of the $1,980,555 above request. That, in other words, we will not be funding that additional request. They have resources within their current funding to handle those. Any discussion?
I think it's also important to note that Mr. Kopinski stated in the media that the schools do have an available fund of $3 million available from the current fiscal year that they could use for these funds. So whether they choose to use that or one of the available sources that we recommend, that choice is up to them, but they do have $3 million available that they can use.
Okay, any further discussion? Jeff, do we need to clarify this motion because it's a little,
I thought it was good.
okay. No further discussion? All in favor of the motion not to fund the $1,900,000 request and to use their local funds? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay. Number 8, South Piedmont Community College Capital Improvement Plan. Ms. Manager?
Yes, in the fiscal year 15 budget, the Board of County Commissioners allocated $1.6 million to South Piedmont Community College for deferred maintenance and infrastructure improvements, plus an additional $150,000 for a welding lab at their Center for Technology and Health Education. Back in December, South Piedmont Community College requested of the board that the repaving of the old Charlotte Highway campus parking lot, which was part of the deferred maintenance program in the amount of $375,000, be delayed and that funding be allocated to the welding lab project, which was approved. Since then, I had a meeting with our finance director about 2 weeks ago that indicated that their actual expenditures for the welding lab are now at $770,000, and so they are wanting to reallocate an additional $245,000 from their appropriation for deferred maintenance to the welding lab. And therefore, since the Board of County Commissioners made this appropriation in the fiscal year 15 budget, we are bringing it back to the board for your consideration and action.
Okay. Is there any discussion? Vice Chair Rushing?
The last time I was there, the welding lab was well underway.
It's complete. The way this came to our attention was we received an final invoice for the work that had been done, and we notified them that they had exceeded the monies that were allocated. So they submitted the request to us, and I said it would have to go before the Board of County Commissioners. So my understanding is the welding lab is complete at this point in time.
What is the, what if we did not approve this, what would happen?
They would have to find money from other sources. What they're asking for is that the board reallocate monies that you previously provided to them. I did ask that question of them, and they did not have an answer for me as to what would happen if this was denied.
So they spent $500,000 above their budget, knowing they didn't have the funds?
The original request for $150,000 appears to have been for equipment. The additional funds were apparently for renovations at what we refer to as the old Beeler building. Back in December, they did identify to this body that they anticipated they would need $375,000 for renovations, which was authorized to come from the deferred maintenance. But at this point in time, yes, they've come in $245,000 over budget from what was previously allocated back in December.
So in total, they're over $525,000.
Yes, sir.
Any further discussion? Commissioner Rush?
Where would this money come from? I mean, where are we reallocating it from?
From their deferred, they had presented to the board a deferred maintenance list. That is where they're suggesting where it would come from. I would suspect, I do not know this for a fact, that you will see those deferred maintenance requests in future years. do not see him.
Is this time sensitive?
I would say that they've incurred the expense and the bill cannot be paid, so it's probably time sensitive to the vendor.
Do they have any other sources besides the approval tonight?
In this year's budget, you allocated, I think, $500,000 in capital. I would have to go back and look and see if there was a specific, I believe it was a pot of money. I don't know that it was to a specific project. Local funds, that's the only funding that I'm aware of that they have available to them.
It's kind of a damned if we do and damned if we don't, isn't it?
Well, I would have appreciated if Dr. Cedar would have presented his case tonight and explained why they're over by $500,000. But I'll support it as long as with the understanding that it comes out of that budget that exists and that there's no additional funds that will be added to that deferred budget as a result.
Well, then I'll make the motion to adopt CPO 173 to transfer $245,000 from the SPCC Deferred Capital Maintenance Project to the SPCC Welding Lab Project. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion? Aye. All opposed?
Nay.
Two opposed. Next, item 9 is a deceased body transport update. This is an item that I've heard about for the last 4 years, and Michelle and a committee have been working on that. If she'll give us an update, we appreciate you working on that.
Yes, thank you, Chairman Helms. I will provide just a brief update to the board and be happy to take any questions. As indicated by the chairman and in your agenda abstract, Chairman Helms and Vice Chairman Rushing actually asked staff to initiate dialogue regarding the issue of deceased body transports, particularly pickups and transports of deceased bodies that are in public places, retail establishments, or public roads. My understanding of this subject is that it was initiated by some of the volunteer fire chiefs and law enforcement officials in regards to specific incidences of untimely pickups. Tonight I can share with you that this past week a large group met. It included representatives from Carolina's healthcare system, Union EMS, Highway Patrol, 2 of the volunteer fire department chiefs, one from Hemby Bridge and Mineral Springs, the Monroe City Fire Chief, Monroe City Police Department representative, and a sheriff's office representative. We have all agreed that we believe we can identify a solution, but needed some additional data and information specifically around the process and particular numbers of the incidents that we're talking about. And our goal is to have a solution identified within the next 3 weeks. We are meeting again this week on Thursday. I can give you just a little kind of history and background on what the process actually looks like, which I think is important to understand this topic. The state of North Carolina, the medical examiner system is a state system. It is not a locally ran system. In terms of pathologists, the only county pathologist in the state of North Carolina is in Mecklenburg County, and they have had a county pathologist since the early 1950s. And they actually serve as our location for autopsies from a regional perspective. All of the bodies that are discovered here that need a medical examiner's attention, and there are about 100 per year is my understanding, there are 3 things that can happen. One is when a call goes into the communications center, an ME is called that is on duty. So a medical examiner, there are 4 to 5 that are on staff at Carolina's healthcare system, Union. And when they're on duty, they are notified and they make a decision about what should happen. They either release the body to the family physician to make the determination and sign the death certificate, or if there are unanswered questions, they ask that the body be brought to the morgue at the hospital where they can actually make a further determination, or the body is sent to Mecklenburg County for an autopsy. And about a third go to Mecklenburg County based on the data that I've gotten. It's the responsibility of the medical examiner to notify a transportation company for pickup. There are about 7 that are identified to be used in Union County, but there are primarily 2 transport companies that are used. And I have reached out to them as well to get additional information on their workload. As I said, we're meeting again later this week, and we anticipate having a solution within the next 3 weeks, and I will provide that to the board when it is complete. I'm happy to take any questions.
Any questions? One, Michelle, in your group,
Yes.
I know that circumstances are different in every case, but, you know, part of the problem is that a family has to observe their loved one not picked up for multiple hours. If y'all can identify some kind of target so the expectations of our vendors that they respond with a certain,
That is
Time.
absolutely part of what we're considering,
Okay,
so
good.
we will include that.
okay, thank you for what you're doing,
Thank you.
appreciate
You're
it.
very welcome. Thank you.
Our next item, item 10, is resolution on the historic courthouse. And Vice Chair Rushing, if you would like to share that with us, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Back in December, we were invited to the historic courthouse to do a video interview for new county commissioners, and I don't get to go in there enough. And as I went through there and started looking at all the things, going through the Heritage Room, it just kind of renewed my interest in our history. Back years ago, I started doing genealogy work in there and spent many hours in the Heritage Room going over the books and all the information that we had. Let's talk to some of the folks in the back. Barbara Moore, you and I have known each other for quite a while, and we were talking about this and the importance of protecting that information. And in conversations with the staff, we've also learned that, you know, there's not a lot of policies, there's not a lot of procedures in place. As I was over there today, I was walking through looking at some of the things that were there, and I wondered about the weapons policy when I saw the bayonet. You know, the things like that we have there, and the protections and the policies that we need to have. It's very important, I think, that we make some sort of decision on what we're going to do with that historic property. As we had talked months ago about some of the options that we had, you know, I was very concerned about some of the options that were presented, and I think those have also been expressed by others. The idea with the resolution would be to actually begin the process. It wouldn't be to put a bunch of money into this year, because first, before we start putting money into things, we need to find out what we're going to do. We actually need those policies in place that the Historic Society, the Genealogical Society, those groups know what, you know, just for example, if I go in and I say I want to donate this item, you know, how is that item protected? How is that item accounted for? Is it inventoried? Through talking with the staff, if maybe that you know, we want to go in and a family wants to go in and do the remodeling on a room or to renew it, there's really no way of that person donating the money to actually get that done. And with talking with the Historical Society, if they wanted to do a fundraiser, there's really nothing there. There's no designation of that being a museum where that money could be given for that purpose. Because if a Board of County Commissioners comes in and decides to do something completely different with that building, that money would be for nothing. So that's, in that vein, would ask that my fellow commissioners consider this resolution to protect our history, to make some policies of what we can do, what we can't do, what we feel is right, what they feel is right, in conjunction with the Historical Society and the other groups that are there in the courthouse, I mean, the old courthouse now. I think it would be helpful for our staff. I think it would be helpful for the groups that are there, and I think it would be helpful for the future of Union County. We have so many people that moved here that are new, but yet their children are Union County natives just as much as I am. And those children, you know, I'd like them to be able to go to the Heritage Room and start their own files. And it may not be Balcom or Rushing or Helms or Simpson, or it might be an Akmus. And I think that would be very nice to have some of those new things there. And I really would love for you guys to support this resolution and ask that you would do it. Thank you.
Would you like to read the resolution?
Yes, I can read the resolution if you like. The resolution is that whereas Union County was formed in 1842 and has a rich history, whereas the historic courthouse is located at 300 North Main Street, Monroe, North Carolina, whereas the Union County Historic Courthouse was designated in 1971 to the National Register of Historic Places and has been called a roll call of the tangible reminders of the history of the United States. And whereas on April 22nd, 1985, Union County adopted an ordinance designating the old courthouse inside and outside and grounds as a historic landmark, and whereas the historic courthouse is the single most significant property representing the history and development of Union County and its county seat, Monroe, whereas the Union County Heritage Room is located in the historic courthouse in downtown Monroe, and whereas the Heritage Room is operated by the Union County Historic Preservation Commission, Union County Historical Society, and the Carolinas Genealogical Society, and whereas the Heritage Room contains books and files on local history and family, genealogy journals, newsletters, scrapbooks, military and Civil War information, obituaries, maps, church and school files, books, and other items of local interest in historic property preservation and designations. And whereas the Union County Board of Commissioners wishes to protect the structure, monuments, and donated artifacts displayed at the historic courthouse, now therefore be it resolved that the Union County Board of Commissioners does hereby designate the historic courthouse and grounds as a museum of Union County history, and direct the staff to work with the Union County Historic Preservation Commission, Union County Historical Society, and the Carolinas Genealogical Society to develop policies for displaying artifacts, promoting use of property, and protecting the structure.
Okay. Any discussion?
Several months ago, we discussed the county courthouse, and at that time I made a comment that I didn't believe the museum was the best use of that building. And while I agree it's an asset to the county and it's truly a treasure, it was designated as a historical landmark in 1985, and I agree with that. I think it's a great asset to the county. However, I can't support it as a museum. I just don't think it's the right thing to do for the county. I think there's better opportunities for that building so that building can be enjoyed by more people within the county.
Okay. Any further? I'll have to say that from my perspective, the courthouse and the grounds represent our ancestors. On the grounds, we have monuments to our citizens that gave their life so we can enjoy the freedoms we have today. And I think they're representative from every war since the Revolutionary War. I think dedicating this as a museum, which I highly support, would honor those, would allow future generations to be able to understand why Union County is such a great place. It's our ancestors that made Union County so attractive that the influx of our new citizens has been so great. And I think a museum would honor those individuals and perpetuate the long history that Union County's had as being a leader in North Carolina and the United States. Commissioner Rush?
And one other point. If it's not the wish of the board to designate it as a museum, we definitely need to do something about the policies there, and we need to do something to direct those policies to be developed with the input of the Historical Society and the other groups there. Again, I think this is we've talked about office buildings. I think there's a lot of things there that will impede that. I don't think that could happen. And some of the concerns that I've heard is just like people being in there after hours. If you open it up for office use or something like that, you're going to have people coming in and out trying to determine who's there and who's left. It would be even a bigger concern than having a museum. So I think, like I said, I think the best use for that is for history. We have the Museum of the Waxhaws down in Waxhaw. It would be nice to have a museum for Union County history and some place that people know to go to, and it really is a treasure. I mean, it unbelievable. I was reading a book today about Morgan Mill Road, and one of my ancestors, Drew Morgan, and reading a story about how his throat was cut from ear to ear and how he was found with a gun in his hand looking for the guy who cut his throat. So there's all kinds of funny stories and great stories and interesting stories in that place, and I think that the children of Union County would benefit more than anybody from being able to go there on trips. I'd spoken to the school system. Dr. Ellis and I had a good conversation about, would they send more children there? And she said that would definitely be something that would be on their radar. And when we look at things to bring us together, this county compared to 10 years ago is much more united than it was. And things like this do even greater, make greater strides to unite us even more. Chris, the things that you're doing shows a more united place to live. You know, when we are not complaining about economic development, we're promoting it and we're pushing it, and we see the results of that. And I think this would be a jewel that you could take people to and show them we value our history, we value our, where we came from, and we value where we're going. And I think that no place better would show that than a museum in the heart of Monroe. So I do wish you would consider it, and please think about that angle of it.
I think the courthouse is something we have to protect, and I understand your concerns about the commercial value of it. However, as a museum, we'll have better control over the hours that it's open, and also protect all the contents which we don't have in place right now. So I'd make a motion that we adopt this resolution, making the Union County Courthouse a museum. It'd be the courthouse and the grounds, all items on the grounds be considered a museum. Is there any further discussion? All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Aye.
Okay. Passes. Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it, Commissioner Rush, for bringing that to our attention. Our next item is item 10A, which is a resolution approving the incurrence by Jackson Volunteer Fire Department, Inc. of up to $96,720 of indebtedness for purchase of new fire apparatus. Commissioner Jerry Simpson, would you like to enlighten us on that,
Sure.
please?
In the last few days, it was brought to my attention that this was a part of the budget request, I think this year, Ms. Cotto, from
Yes, sir.
Jackson. And having, not that this is relative to the issue, but having personally had the need for a brush truck at Jackson, I thought this was pretty important. So I wanted to benefit them if I could. But it's my understanding that as they're going through this process, that they had applied for a grant and had been the opportunity to receive that grant, which will make a significant impact on the payment for that truck. And so that sort of hangs in a balance, and therefore I wanted to see if we couldn't move this item forward. So I would move that we approve the resolution approving the incurrence by the Jackson Volunteer Fire Department of up to $96,720.02 in indebtedness for the purchase of a new fire apparatus.
Commissioner, may I ask a question, please? My understanding that right now their indebtedness on the vehicle that they're wanting to refinance is $20,000. Is that correct?
On the vehicle that they wish to refinance.
My interpretation is that
I
they've
think
got
there's
a...
20,000 that they're rolling into the loan, yes.
Yes, okay. How much is the grant for?
I believe it's 30, 35. Mr. Tull is with us, he can come up and, he's with Jackson, the treasurer down there, he can explain the details.
Certainly. Ms. West, Ms. Cotto, Chairman Helms, and Commissioners, my name is Reed Tull. I'm the Secretary Treasurer for the Jackson Volunteer Fire Department. What we're trying to do, and I've had a lot of difficulty getting a loan for new apparatus. This is about the best deal I could find. It's actually a lease to purchase arrangement, and you're slightly incorrect about the 90-something thousand. The lease is for $90,000, but upon origination, we pay $35,000 back. So the total loan is really only $61,000 and some change. We're not asking for any more money. This is just to work within our current budget. It's, to me, it's sort of a formality with the with the finance company that we need the board approval of it.
What's the cost of the truck?
Well, the truck it's a brush truck. It's like a Sierra 3500.
What's the cost?
The cost is, we're getting some equipment put on it and stuff, so the cost is about $46,000.
Okay.
I've applied for a state grant. I've been doing these grants this will be the 10th year. I've been approved every time. This was a big one. It just seemed like it was a good time to put in for the vehicle because it's about used up. It was on the Fire Commission study a few years back that's the first thing we need to do, so I'm trying to make good on that.
Okay, so help me understand where the 96,720.02 is coming from.
That's what the lease is, I guess, but as soon as we get that lease, we pay back 35,000 of it, with the remainder that we owe of 61,000 spread over 3 years.
I got you. Okay.
Now, lease, do you own the vehicle when you get through the lease, or does?
We have that option, and I'm sure we're going to go through with that. This is a company called Fire Truck Finance. They've been financing trucks all over our own county. I think Allen Crossroads has one now, and I feel confident it's a fair deal, and they're honest people, and
So it's 96,000 is your lease that you'll have to pay. I mean, that's how much money will go out during your term of the lease.
not really. It's 61,000.
Well, you're gonna pay the 35, it's coming out of your pocket now.
Okay.
So the total's 96, right?
I guess so, yeah.
Okay,
But we have to pay that 35 right up front,
okay.
and effectively the rest of the balance is the 61 that we pay over the next 3 years.
And what is the buyback at the end of the lease? What is the anticipated purchase you'll have to repurchase the vehicle?
No, it'll, I guess we'll have the option to buy it at the end of the lease.
How much is that?
That will be zero. In other words, it's just the way the finance company gets around calling it a lease, I guess.
Okay. Commissioner Rushing?
That 50% grant, so that'll pay for, how much would that amount to? Would that pay half of the 96,000?
Half of the 30,
Well,
60.
the grant is 30,000. We have to buy $60,000 worth of equipment, turn in the receipts to Raleigh, and then they reimburse us.
Okay, I got it. Had some heartburn with this because of the situation that we're in.
Okay.
We allowed Wesley Chapel to do they refinanced, but they could only refinance for the price that they had. I was talking with Jerry today, and he explained to me that there was some grant monies that were hanging in the balance, and so for that reason, I'm going to support it because of the grant money. I mean, if other than that, with the freeze on and all the other stuff going on, this is very touchy, and I'm sure this is going to be controversial with a few folks, but you're looking at losing that much grant money, so I'm not going to be part of you losing grant money, if that makes any sense to you.
I appreciate that, sir.
Can you explain where that 96 is coming from? I see the term on the lease of 96,000, and I think you've got a $20,000 balance left on your current vehicle.
Right.
But I'm looking here at the order from GM, and it shows 40,760, and then $5,000 in upfit.
Approximately. We've got lights, and there's a lot of stuff that goes on a brush truck.
And I'm just trying to understand where the 96,000 is coming from. If I look at, you've got the investment's 96,000 with the first payment in advance.
With no interest on that payment. So just the lease arrangement says, you get the 90, you pay you pay back that 35 immediately.
Okay, so I'm looking at the GM workbench, it's 40,760.
Okay.
And then from NAPHIDE, you're looking at another 5420 and change in equipment add-ons.
Okay.
So I'm at $47,000 plus the 20,000, I'm at 67,000. Help me get to the 96.
I don't know how to explain that any better, sir.
I'm just trying to understand.
We get the loan for 96. Immediately, we pay back 35.
And that's where I'm trying to understand you're taking out a loan for 96, but from what I can see, the value of what you're taking out
Yes, sir.
is 41,000 for the truck, 5,500 for the upgrades to the equipment, and then $20,000 for an existing loan. So I'm only coming up to about $67,000 in equipment. Maybe I'm missing something here.
How does the old equipment come into play?
The
Are you
old-
gonna pay that off?
Yeah, that gets paid off as soon as we make the final payment for this new arrangement.
You're rolling your old lease into the new lease as well,
Correct.
correct?
Yes,
And I'm still trying to find the difference in the $30,000.
Is it 30,000 in interest?
No, it's,
I hope not.
it's, I don't know, 1,200 a year or something like that.
The PO number that shows on that is actually 40,932,
Okay,
and that's from GM.
okay.
Again, the upfits are 54,2088.
Well, we've got some upfits from the dealer, and then we've got a light package from a company that sells fire equipment. We've got, a package to put decals on it. We've got a package to install all that equipment on there.
Okay, so is there an additional set of equipment that we don't have a copy of, coming from something besides Knapheide?
I've got some. I left Miss West a whole package like a month ago.
It's this package here. That's the package we have. Is the current truck, the 20,000 that you owe on that,
Yes, sir.
is that a lease with the same organization?
Lease with the same folks. It was a lease for, a lease to purchase for 10 years for $232,000. And in the last 5 years, we paid almost or over 90% of it off. In other words, a 10-year lease to own. After 5 years, we're pretty much close to the end of it.
On the new truck, what is the actual lease price? If it's two separate leases, you got a lease on your old truck and there'll be a lease on this new truck,
I'd have to go back to the finance company to have them break it down that way.
is there,
The total, though, is $21,000 per year.
are you dealing with a deadline where this has to be decided tonight?
With this grant, I am, sir.
What's the expiration on the grant?
The grant, I have to turn everything in by by the 1st of September.
Okay.
All right. Well, in that case, then I'm gonna ask that we table this until we get a full disclosure of where the funds are going, an explanation, so I have an itemized list to understand where this $96,000 is going.
And also, your contract needs to be clear on what you will owe. The leases I'm accustomed to in automobiles, and Frank, correct me if I'm wrong, generally at the end, there's a buyout if you want to keep that vehicle. And if there's not going to be a buyout, if you own it at the end of the lease, I'd like to see that in writing.
Okay.
So may I recommend that we put this together and come back on our August 3rd meeting to give you plenty of time? Is that reasonable?
That's fine with me, yeah, I'm not prepared to make a decision on tonight. I wanna support it, but I need to see clearly where the funds are going.
Okay. That's fine. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Do we need to vote on that? Do we need to take a vote to? Okay. Well, okay, Commissioner Akmus, you had a motion to table until, is August 3rd a good time? Would that be a fair amendment to your motion? Any further discussion on it? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, none. Okay. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you coming. We look forward to hearing from you in August. Next is our appointments to boards and committees. The first being Juvenile Crime Prevention Council. The terms of Kathleen Dene, person under age of 18, and Christopher Westover, Commissioner appointee on this council, expired June 30th, 2015. Both Ms. Dene and Mr. Westover have applied for reappointments.
Motion to reappoint. Ms. Westover, Mr. Nate.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? None. Okay. Appointment to Union County Adult Care Home Community Advisory Committee. Anna Welch has served an initial term on the Union County Adult Care Home Community Advisory Committee, and that term expired in June 2015. Ms. Welch submitted an application for reappointment to the committee. However, during the June 15, 2015 regular meeting, Ms. Welch was mistakenly appointed to the Nursing Home Committee. She has indicated that she wishes to continue serving on the Adult Care Home Community Advisory Committee. This appointment is being presented to the board to consider appointment to Ms. Welch to the Adult Care Home Community Advisory Committee.
Motion to approve the application.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? None. Next, we have the Region F Aging Advisory Committee. Ruth Helms' term on the Region F Aging Advisory Committee expired on June 2015. Members may serve for 3 consecutive 2-year terms or a total of 6 years. Ms. Helms has served 2 terms and is eligible to serve another. She has applied for reappointment to this committee.
Motion to reappoint Ruth Helms.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? None. Consolidated Human Services Board. Background: Gary Sides served on the Consolidated Human Services Board representing the consumer of the Human Services. Mr. Sides submitted his resignation from that board dated April 27th. His term on this board expires on November 20th, 2017. Myra Sides has applied to fill this unexpired term. Her application was reviewed by the Human Services Board and at its meeting Monday, June 8th, and that board unanimously recommended Ms. Sides for appointment to fill the unexpired term. Mr. Sides, in conversation with him, he serves on the Board of Education, and both of these boards are pretty much full-time, and he wanted to make sure that that the ultimate time and efforts were put into this, so his wife, Myra, is applied for the board.
Motion to approve Myra.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? None. Agricultural Advisory Board. Stephen Hagler's term for the Agricultural Advisory Board expired in June 2015. Mr. Hagler has applied for reappointment. No other applications been received.
Motion to reappoint Mr. Hagler to the Ag Advisory Board.
Okay, any discussion? Being none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? None. Ms. Manning.
I have no comments this evening.
Commissioner Rushing.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Hope everybody has a wonderful night, safe trip home, and enjoy what's left of the summer. It's flying by.
Commissioner Lance Simpson.
Just wish everyone a good night.
Commissioner Akins.
No comments.
Commissioner Simpson.
I'd just like to point out that we approved in the consent agenda this evening the relationship with Monroe and the Economic Development Board. I remember back in 2012 when we had a discussion and we stepped out and made that effort. There was a lot of people who said it'll never last. It looked like due to your leadership, Chris, it worked out pretty well, and hopefully it's going to continue to do so in the future. And despite the fact that you just are determined to wear that Clemson orange tie every time you come here, we appreciate your leadership. One final thing I'd like to mention, if you haven't recognized the fact, some of you may have been lucky, I certainly have where I live, but the Catawba Advisory Committee just placed the Catawba region in a stage 1 drought. It hasn't rained, it's not raining, so please, at all opportunities, conserve your water, don't wash your car, go easy on your shrubbery, and let's conserve that water till the rains start again. I wish everyone a good evening.
And to be short, one, I want to thank our governor for lowering our flags to half staff in respect and memorial to the 4 Marines and the Navy officer that gave their lives for our country this week. I would ask that when you lay your head down tonight, say a prayer for their families and be with them, because it's our veterans that we owe the indebtedness for the freedoms we have today. And I hope everyone has a good evening. All motion for adjourn?
Aye.